Hi, I'm Ash and welcome to this video where we're looking at the AFS Stream Wing. This is an all-round freeride wing from AFS which has an interesting mix of construction materials. The strut is made from what AFS calls UPE. We have seen this material on various wings. Gong call it Aramid, F1 Quad X, so we've seen this material before. It's quite lightweight, hard wearing and stiff. Not as light as Alula is my understanding, but it is cheaper and offers good stiffness compared to heavy duty Dacron. The leading edge is a mix of UPE and heavy duty Dacron, presumably giving some stiffness to the wing, but not using all UPE. There is some flex and forgiveness in the leading edge to soak up gusts. Overall, the wing weighs 2.12 kilograms in the 5 meter variant. I don't know if that includes the boom or not because they don't state that in the specifications. Regardless, this is still very light for a 5 meter sized wing. It is boom only, no option for handles. This is a little disappointing in today's world of freeride wings where most manufacturers do offer a choice of boom or handles. For me personally, boom wings do cause tendon inflammation as they are less ergonomic in use and don't manage wrist angles well when riding, so I do have to be careful how long my sessions are and how often when using a boom wing. The boom itself is carbon and of narrow diameter. It feels a little narrower than a duotone boom, but it is certainly comfortable in use and has a soft material covering over the carbon. We do have reinforcements along the leading edge to protect the wing from beach impacts, 2 hard battens on each side of the canopy to stop flutter in the trailing edge, well positioned and sized windows, and a good sized flag handle with soft protection pad for knuckles. The handle is plenty big and stiff enough for use in waves with good control. The canopy is also quite lightweight, which may or may not be a blessing. Lighter canopies do make for a lighter, more playful wing, but usually at the expense of overall longevity of the wing. We do have some nice design around the seams, with them running along the load lines to help minimise canopy stretch. Notable omissions that are missing that other manufacturers include are extra load bearing materials at the wingtips. This is missing entirely. The rear of the strut, where there are high loads on the canopy, we have some extra strengthening, but not nearly as much as we see on some other brands of wings. We do have a doubled over seam along the trailing edge to stop stretch across this critical area. In terms of sizing, the wings range from 3 meters to 6 meters in 0.5 meter increments, and the wingspan of this 5 meter is 3.15 meters. Inflation for this 5 meter version of the wing is to 9 psi, and it will vary for other sizes accordingly. The canopy is quite tight in design with tension across most of the canopy. We have a single inflation system with a sup style valve and a pinch clip from strut to leading edge. There is also an extra rubber deflation valve on the strut. Picking it up off the beach, it flies very stable without much pendulum motion. There is the slightest hint of downward pressure when flagged, but overall it's a very neutral wing. The overall colours and look of the wing is not too fussy overall, and it looks quite good. My only complaint would be it being white, as white wings never seem to stay white for long. It comes with a Velcro wrist leash in a bungee style and without a swivel. All of our reviews follow a structure. I'll put that on the screen, and we start with pump onto foil. It's always a little unfortunate when the very first category is a little bit of a weak area for the wing. Bear with me because there are other redeeming features of this wing, but unfortunately low end is not its strong suit. Whilst the wing pumps reasonably readily and you can generate some board speed through pumping, the wing is very reluctant to transition from pumping to generating power on its own and accelerating the board, so you can find yourself pumping for extended periods, wondering when the wing is going to activate and take over. It's also a wing that gets a little confused when the wind is very light and doesn't intuitively orientate itself to allow for an effective pump. This reluctance to generate power and pull when the wind is light is my main complaint. I do have one other which will come clear later, but the low end is a bit of a weakness of this wing's design. For pump technique, once the wing is orientated to the wind, you can quite readily pump it and generate power. It's just that transition from pumping to the wing taking over and accelerating the board that is missing at low wind speeds. When we look at low end versus high end, then this wing is more orientated towards high end than low end. It actually handles being overpowered very well, and it's just that low end which suffers in the overall wind range. When overpowered, it soaks up the power quite nicely, and due to that Dacron in the leading edge, it does quite readily handle gusts without moving around too much or becoming unsettled. The balance between the hands is quite neutral, and I didn't feel the centre of effort of the wing moving around too much in gusts or changes in wind strength. The wing itself is quite stable, doesn't fidget when cruising, and for general freeride is quite well behaved. Now we come to my second issue, which was the upwind performance. Whilst this wing does drive upwind reasonably well, as you drive closer to the wind and push your upwind angles, it does start to backwind. It feels like the power kind of switching on and off. It doesn't feel like the wing is going to come at you or try to knock you off backwards, but it does have that slightly unsettling feeling to it. If you just stay off very tight upwind drives, then it behaves well enough. This characteristic made me feel that some other brands you can probably push tighter upwind angles without worrying too much about that backwind characteristic. When it comes to jibes and advanced jibes, it was really quite an enjoyable and playful wing, much helped by its lightweight and the boom. These two combined will often make a wing feel very playful, and the stream really does not disappoint. Jibes, race jibes and Heineken jibes were all completed very easily and with a light and playful feel. When it comes to tacks, that slight backwind tendency did appear again. It's quite subtle in the tack. There is a moment as you transition the wing where the wing wants to push towards you, but it's very momentary and not aggressive, and as such it is easily dealt with. I'd prefer the wing didn't give that sense that it might push against you in attack, but I didn't have any situation where the backwind was strong enough or long enough to cause a problem. The stream was happy to fly overhead or on its side through the tack. In terms of jumps, the stream didn't seem to give me a huge amount of lift. It was quite happy to jump and was stable in the air. It just didn't give that express elevator feeling you get from some wings as you initiate the jump. For flagging out, the stream was very well behaved and also very light, so its tendency to drop the tail was minimal. The flag handle was pretty large and stiff and offered decent control of the wing in the flag position. In terms of speed, the stream was quite average. If you want to go fast, then the AFS Diamond would be a better choice. For backwind riding, the stream produced a nice amount of power and was relatively stable, so I was able to achieve some nice backwind tack transitions even in slightly lighter conditions. So for backwind riding, it works relatively well compared to other brands. Overall, I thought this was a light, playful wing for your freeride user. The main disappointment was the low end, and it wouldn't be my preferred pick of wing on a light wind day. Outside of that, it's quite a nice wing. It's very light. There are some minor backwind tendencies when tacking and pushing hard upwind, but nothing too aggressive and easily dealt with. So let's do some pros and cons. The pros are that it's lightweight, very playful, it's a stable wing, has good high-end behaviour and gust handling. The cons: low end and light wind performance are not great, upwind performance and backwinding when pushing high upwind I wasn't so keen on. So who is this for? Well, this wing would suit an intermediate to expert rider. I'm going to exclude beginners because beginners generally appreciate a good low end, and that's due to beginners having poor pumping technique, so everything you can get out of the low end of the wing really helps a beginner. Anyone who rides in powered conditions or likes to ride well powered would really like this wing. Anyone who likes a very light playful wing for freeride, or someone who is free riding and flagging out on waves, because again it's light and it flags out really nicely on waves. I'd like to thank Kieran from Andy Biggs for the wing demo and AFS UK, and that's it for this one, and I'll see you on the next video.